So today, almost every economy in the world runs on capitalist lines, the whole business and money game. But here's the kicker, despite being everywhere, capitalism gets a lot of shade thrown its way, disappointment, frustration, suspicion, you name it. And guess what? These gripes aren't anything new, they've been dogging capitalism since day one. So let's hop in our time machine and check out how capitalism got itself a bad representative and what we can do to make it better. Back in 1304, in good old Padua, Italy, there was this painter dude named Giotto. He painted this fresco called Jesus and the Moneylenders. It basically showed that people were convinced way back then that being all spiritual and chasing money were like oil and water, they just didn't mix. Jesus was super mad in the painting, finding merchants and bankers doing their thing in a holy temple. Apparently, it was a big no-no, and this Christian view of money being immoral held capitalism back for ages. Fast forward to 1450 in Venice, Italy. Enter Luca Pacioli, a friar who wrote the first ever accounting book called Summa de Arithmetica. This dude introduced double-entry bookkeeping, which was a big deal for capitalism until joint stock companies and modern factories took over. The cool thing was that Pacioli showed people that dealing with money wasn't just about faith or divine stuff. It was like a science that you could learn through patience, reason, and hard work. Now, let's groove to 1555 in Geneva, where a preacher named John Calvin was all about the Protestant virtues, hard work, self-control, honesty, yada yada. He said these qualities were perfect for capitalism. Forget splurging on fancy stuff, he told folks to invest their extra cash back into their businesses, and that would make God happy. Apparently, this mindset helped capitalism grow faster than a speeding bullet. By 1670, in Delft, Dutch Republic, capitalism was rocking and rolling. The Dutch were all about hard-working merchants and not so fond of lazy aristocrats. Capitalism was their jam, and it fit right in with their way of life. So, there you have it. Capitalism has been through some ups and downs, but it's been a major player for ages. By understanding its past, maybe we can figure out how to make it a bit more fair and kick some of the negative vibes to the curb. So, in those churches, they're preaching about being thrifty and working hard, the Protestant way. And in the art scene, they're done with glorifying kings and queens, and instead, we got Johannes Vermeer painting stuff like The Lacemaker, showing off the beauty of everyday tasks like making lace. His work in The Little Street suggests that living peacefully, running your own business, is way cooler than going to war or becoming a monk. Fast forward to 1776 in London, and we've got Strain and Cable, a successful publisher, making a bang with this new book by a Scottish dude, Adam Smith. In The Wealth of Nations, Smith breaks it down for us. He demystifies how capitalist economies grow. He's like, slavery's not that efficient, bro. Paying workers is better, and treating them right makes more money for capitalists anyway. Smith gets into this thing called the division of labor. Basically, he says, if you specialize and work together, you can make WAAAY more pins than working alone. It's like pin making magic. Plus, he drops the bomb that capitalism works because people chase their own profits, and that somehow ends up benefiting society. It's like an invisible hand, guiding things. But, you know what? Not everyone's sold on this capitalism stuff. In 1854, London is huge, the British economy is crushing it, but there's a lot of anger too. Charles Dickens, the master of storytelling, puts out Hard Times. It's set in a made-up town that's like Manchester, and it takes a hard jab at heartless capitalists like Mr. Gradgrind. These guys are all about making bank and don't care if they exploit workers, especially poor kids working in mines and chimneys. They're so blinded by their money-chasing logic that they wreck nature and human lives. So, yeah, capitalism has its ups and downs. Some think it's the bomb, while others see its dark side. It's like a roller coaster ride in the ever-changing world of economics and society. So, Dickens had a lot to say about capitalism, especially when it came to the workers' conditions. He described Coketown, a place tainted with smoke and ashes, as an unnatural red and black that reminded him of a savage's painted face. He believed that capitalism encouraged appalling conditions for the producers. Even decent folks, under the influence of capitalist logic, found excuses to exploit child labor in factories or let the poor suffer after their working days were done. Then in 1860, John Ruskin joined the party, publishing Unto This Last, going after capitalism from the consumption side. He was furious that people were being exploited, and the environment was being destroyed. But he asked a deeper question. Why were they suffering? Ruskin pointed out that capitalism built huge fortunes by selling people absurd things, knickknacks, fancy plates, embroidered napkins, stuff they didn't truly need. He believed money should be made and spent morally on noble and beautiful things that really mattered. Now, let's hop to Berlin in 1963, where Walter Ulbricht, the leader of Communist East Germany, introduced the Neues Ökonomisches System, NÖS. He aimed to address what he saw as capitalism's two major flaws. First, NÖS guaranteed workers good conditions with more state schools, housing blocks, and holiday camps. Second, it focused on meaningful things, not the frivolities of capitalist production. They wanted to give the people Plato, Marx, and uplifting TV programs about important stuff. But, no system is perfect. In 1976, Dresden faced a massive riot because there was a coffee crisis. East Germans loved their coffee, but a global price surge made it impossible to afford enough. So, the Politburo replaced coffee with a mix called Mish Coffee, which was 51% coffee and 49% fillers like chicory, rye, and sugar beet. People weren't happy with this change, and it highlighted some flaws in communism. It's clear that both capitalism and communism have their critics and challenges. Finding the right balance for an economy is like navigating a crazy roller coaster ride, full of ups and downs. But hey, at least people are speaking up and trying to make things better. In the late 80s, East Germans broke down the wall and rushed to West German supermarkets, like Edeka, in awe of capitalism's productive powers. They marveled at life's little luxuries it provided: olive oil, party hats, ice cream, and coffee. The old East German elite, who thought the people could be satisfied with philosophy and sauerkraut, got the boot. In 1999, the World Trade Organization met in Seattle for talks on liberalizing markets, but outside, anti-capitalist protesters gathered. They complained that capitalism neglects the well-being of workers and undermines the important spiritual aspects of life for cheap clothes and distracting media. The protests reminded the world that not everyone benefits from capitalism, and some still hold onto the values of Jesus, Dickens, and Ruskin. Fast forward to 2015, Apple becomes the world's largest corporation, but challenges persist. It's revealed that Apple indirectly contributes to worker suffering in its supply chain in China. Questions arise about whether our pursuits, like the Apple Watch, are worth the costs to ourselves and the planet. So, here's the deal. Capitalism is super productive, but it's got two big flaws. First, it often ignores the suffering of workers unless pushed to address it. Second, companies often thrive by satisfying non-essential human needs, like unhealthy food or mindless TV shows. The challenge for the future is finding a humane way to make money, treating people and the earth well, while also addressing the more noble human needs. Until then, the rage of Jesus in the temple, advocating for fairness and justice, will always have a place in our hearts. Remember, the journey of capitalism is an ongoing adventure, full of twists and turns, and it's up to us to steer it in the right direction. Let's keep learning, questioning, and striving for a better world.